Alright, welcome to another installment on my YouTube channel. I'm Artemisia, also known as Sydney, or Sid, or if you're my brother, Fuckleberry Finn, don't ask. So anyway, many apologies for the long gap of time between this video and the last video. A lot of things came up. Sorry, that gnawing you hear is the dog chewing on his chew toy. Yeah, anyway, so I had a lot of things coming up. I had auditions for music conservatories, regular auditions, I'm preparing for singing for Easter, because if you're an opera singer, that's what you get hired to do half the time. Yeah, lots of stuff coming up, but since I'm passionate about palmistry, I decided to take the time and make this little video about 5 common myths and misconceptions about palmistry, because there are quite a lot. Now, when people think of palmistry, they usually... Oh, there's the cat. Anyway, when they think palmistry, they think of like some kind of airy-fairy, mumbo-jumbo, superstition stuff that kind of goes along the lines of tarot cards and astrology and crystal ball scrying. But in my opinion, it's definitely one of the most down-to-earth, practical, easy-to-read, least mystical styles of divination out there, because it's right here. It's on your hand. Your hand is... It's not as far away as the stars are, or as hard to understand as the tarot cards, or as intuitive and clairvoyant as scrying with a crystal ball. So, yeah, I'm just going to talk about why it's not so scary and how you can actually do it yourself. I would say the number one myth that people have about palmistry is that the lifeline, which is, hold on, here we go, it's just around the Mount of Venus, that it tells how long you're going to live. Well, that, my friends, is rather a complete lie. The length of the lifeline actually has nothing to do with how long you're going to live. Now, what it does indicate is the quality of your life, how healthy you are. I would say major influences to the type of life you have, well, the types of people that influence your well-being. And what's more important than the length of the line is the quality of the line. So, okay, so here we've got the handy-dandy notebook, which is upside down. Here we go, notebook. So imagine that this is your lifeline. It goes around your Mount of Venus, which is the very fleshy area around your thumb. I'm going to make a bunch more videos of palmistry and chiromancy and chironomy. But anyway, so lifeline. It looks kind of normal, but if it's sort of fuzzy and it's got all these lines coming off of it, or here you go, like that, or if it's got like all these grills and crosses all over it, or yeah, crosses, those are no bueno. So imagine lines as a stream of energy. So you've got like the heart line, which is emotions, the headline, which is the quality of your mind power, the line of Saturn, or the line of fate, which indicates your vocations in life and generally how you make your life, and lifeline, which is health and life energy. So these are all rivers, right? And the clearer and the straighter, well, not straighter, the clearer and more without obstructions they are, the better energy that they have. So you can kind of guess what happens when a river has like a bunch of branches coming off of it. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just the energy gets like diverted away from the main path. Or if it's got a bunch of crosses and grills all over it, that's like lots and lots of rocks and logs and stuff in the river. Yeah, so that's the lifeline. It doesn't tell you how long you're going to live, but rather the quality of life and health you have. That's not to say it's impossible to tell how long you're going to live, but timing events in palmistry is really tricky, and it's kind of rather advanced. It's not to say it's impossible, it's just that, yeah, I'm gonna get to that. Number 2, your hands tell your fate. Now, like I said earlier, it's not impossible to tell your future from your hands. It's just rather difficult because the thing is, your hands change all the time. I remember a story told to me by my palmistry teacher / playwriting teacher. Don't ask, I was homeschooled. And she said that when she first got into palmistry, her hands had lines. Oh, the light is terrible. There we go. Her hands had lines just crossing everywhere, all over the major lines. They're all fragmented and spewing all over the place. Now, when we talked about lines being like rivers of energy, the more clear and undiverted and unobstructed they are, the better it is. So you can imagine what happens when someone's whole hand is covered in it. It's all confused energy. So anyway, she first discovered it. And after just one summer of meditation and controlling your mind, and controlling her mind, and just learning lots of mental discipline, she made another print of her hands, because that's what she did before then. You make an ink print of your hands, made a copy of it. All the extra and confused lines were all gone. There are lots of other fascinating cases of this happening, not only with the lines, but with the mounts of the hand, which I consider to be more important than the lines. And the fingers, the positions of the fingers, the nails, those all change. Now, there are ways to time events in palmistry because, like I said, lines are like rivers. Rivers flow, time flows. But your hands kind of show what's ahead of you if you were to, from the present moment, if that makes any sense. Like, talking four-dimensional, let's say. We're going to go into quantum physics. Okay. So the future is a projection of right now because the fourth dimension is to us what the third dimension is to the second dimension. It's really confusing. I used to be obsessed with quantum physics, but yeah, so just for simplicity's sake, let's just say that the future that your hands say will happen is a projection of the future from right now, but it can change all the time. Palmistry is a scam. No, it is not. It is actually thousands of years old and dates back to the ancient Romans or even earlier. There's Indian palmistry, there's Romani palmistry, there's European palmistry, there's all kinds of Chinese palmistry. Now, there are a lot of scammers out there that claim to be palmists. Whoops, it's my slut dress. Anyway, a lot of people out there that claim to be palmists but are actually out there to scam you. Oh, there's my palmistry poster right there. I live in New York City. I grew up in New York City, so I am used to seeing a lot of these kinds of people around there. And you can kind of tell that a lot of them are kind of dishonest. Because colored in palmistry, go into that another video, but basically, if you have a bright red hand, all the capillaries and veins and arteries in your hands, it's just too much blood. And your hands, as one of the most delicate instruments on your body, you can kind of imagine what that means, like all that raw bloodlust energy. And then you see all these neon signs in psychics' windows, and they're bright red. What palmist would do that? Because that's like such a bad sign. It either means like the person's very angry, depending on what mount it is, very angry. Could be, they could have gout or apoplexy. Is that how you say it? Apoplexy? That, or depending on which of the three worlds is most dominant, or if the end of the hand is coarse, they have a lot of Mars going on, a very poor headline and heart line. That could even mean they'd be a rapist. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, real palmistry, I'd say it's, yeah, one of the most ignored, hard to study, but easy to study subjects of divination out there, which means it's kind of tricky to tell what's real and what's not. But I do recommend looking at, who is it? William Benham? Benham. Benham. If you can get the first edition, do get it. His approach to palmistry is very methodological. Methodological? Is that it? I don't know. I'm kind of, ooh. Anyway, his method of studying palmistry is very scientific and straightforward. What is the dog doing? Dog! Anyway, he has looked at hundreds and hundreds of people's hands of criminals and people in insane asylums, famous musicians, famous writers, and he's cataloged what the similarities are between all of them. It's a wonderful book. It's called Scientific Handreading, The Art of Scientific Handreading. Let me just get the book. Here we are. Laws of Scientific Handreading by William G. Benham. It was written about over 100 years ago, so in some places there are some religious overtones, but in my opinion it's the palmistry textbook. It's wonderful to study if you're into palmistry, because it'll just give you so many insights into how to read hands, how to read people, because there's so much more than just lines on the hand. So if you want to study palmistry, I highly recommend that book, Laws of Scientific Handreading. Alright, numero 4. It has to do with astrology. Well, I'd say yes and no, because there are planetary associations with the hand. It's actually not affected by the planets or the stars or whatever at all, your hand. Yes, there are mounts like Jupiter, Saturn, Apollo, or the Sun, Mercury, Mars, the Moon, Venus, and even later later palmists attributed these. I think this is supposed to be the mount of Neptune, and this one the mount of Uranus. I don't know. I haven't really studied modern palmistry. I'm more into Victorian, Renaissance, European style palmistry. Yeah, I'd say that's where that ends. The tarot is more associated with astrology, in that the cards are each of the cards are associated with a specific astrological sign and planet. So that's kind of fun to get into if you're into all of this occult stuff. All right, 5. It only has to do with the lines on the hands. Well, no. As I've kept saying, there's so much more to palmistry than the lines on the hands. The lines on the hands alone would be considered chiromancy. Mancy as in to divine something. Chiro meaning hands, the Greek word for hand. So you can tell a lot from someone's lines, but that's not to say it's the only thing. Lines are so fascinating, but main thing, or rather the most easy thing, the most straightforward, down-to-earth, unchanging thing is the mounts on the hands, which the study of is called chironomy. So you've got all these guys, the mounts which I named: Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, the Sun, Mercury, Mars, the Moon. Then you have the fingers. The fingers are, yes, involved in palmistry, so it can be the length of the fingers, the smoothness of the fingers, what the individual phalanges lengths are, how they relate to one another, the space between the fingers, the fingernails. That tells a lot about your health, especially your blood health, your thyroid glands, whether you have heart disease. That's a big one. So palmistry is actually a practical thing to know. You can glance at people's hands that you're about to or considering to work with. You can see if they'd be compatible. It's a fun game I like to play when I'm on the subway. I try to see how much information I can garner on a person just by glancing at their hands. My palmistry teacher once taught a class on that I was unfortunately not able to attend, called discrete palmistry. So that'd be fun. Maybe I'll be looking into that. But yeah, there's that. There's the texture of the skin, the consistency of the mounts in the hands, the flexibility of the hands. This right here, by the way, it means you have a very active mind. Your mind moves around a lot. I'm talking very fast. I think you can kind of tell. Get distracted easily. ADHD people tend to have these kinds of hands. You can also apply that to each of the individual fingers. Oh, my fingers need to be cracked. There we go. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, those were 5 myths and misconceptions about palmistry. Next time, which is very soon, I hope to delve more into palmistry, more into the specifics of the mounts, the lines, the hands, oh my god. Okay, never mind. I thought the dog was chewing up my sewing project. Oh yes! I'm gonna make a dress soon, or maybe several dresses. So I'm gonna film that too to show you that it's very easy to dress gothically or darkly inclined on a budget. So, yeah. I hope you enjoyed that video. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.